new, those who joined already may know what is SIBE because I've been talking about it in my intro for the session. So here, so if you're here, that means you care about cybersecurity. So I'm excited to introduce you to CYBE, which is a global initiative by Cloud Security Bangalore chapter. If you haven't heard about it, CYBE focuses on cybersecurity knowledge, mentorship, and collaboration. So our goal is to empower professionals, students, and security leaders. We provide expert insights, hands-on training, and a strong learning community. So, CSA Bangalore chapter has been a leader in cybersecurity awareness, research, and best practices, not just in India but worldwide. So, with SAI, we are reaching even further. We are connecting people, starting discussions, and shaping the future of cybersecurity. So, now let's talk about learning. So, we are excited here to launch this CISSP deep dive webinars. Whether you're preparing for CISSP or just starting journey of CISSP, this series is for you. So, we will simplify complex topics for you all and discuss the real world scenarios and invite experts to share insights. But that's not all. CYBE is more than just CISSP. It's a hub of cybersecurity growth. We offer mentorship programs, hands-on training, and expert discussions on cloud security, AI threats, and zero trust, and much more. So if you're ready to level up your cybersecurity game, stay connected and join our conversations and be part of Site Movement. Follow us for more updates and sign up for our webinars, and let's build a stronger cybersecurity community together. So on that note, I would like to hand over this call to Sushant Bhandwakar. He's our CSP speaker for today for topic on sixth domain, which is on. Uh, Sorry if I'm not getting. What's the domain today?
It's
It's not
security assessment and testing.
security assessment, security resilience, and effective security operations, I believe. Uh,
Security assessment is the and testing is actually the short name of this
yeah,
particular domain. Yeah, it covers
insights on
everything.
yeah, it will give insights on vulnerability scanning, penetration testing, and
Correct.
audits. Yeah. So on that note, I'll hand over to you, Sushant. I would like you to take up the session for all our participants today on this particular domain. So if anyone has any questions, you can park it. And once the topic is completed, Sushant will be taking your for a few question answers. And during that point of time, you can pose your questions and he will be in a good position to answer. This we are doing only to make sure we don't waste our time and the session gets completed on time and we disburse this session on time. So hope you'll agree with whatever I'm saying. And let's Sushant start the session then. Over
All
to you.
right.
Sushant. Thank you
All
so much.
right. Yeah. So thank you,
And you
Seema,
can
for the
give a brief
introduction.
introduction of yours
Yeah,
and then you
sure.
can start. Yeah,
So
thank you.
let me first quickly introduce myself, then I'll begin the slides and all. So I have overall 14 years of experience, and I'm actually a veteran. So I worked with the Indian Air Force for 10 years. Then I joined the Wells Fargo. There I was part of the cybersecurity team. I worked in the TPRM and cloud risk assessment, and now I'm working with the Society Generale Bank as a cybersecurity consultant. And here I'm supporting the NIST control team. So through and through, I've been with the cybersecurity. Even in the Air Force, also I was associated with the cybersecurity there as well. And when the certification goes, I am already CISM certified. As completed CISSP. Apart from that, I'm CEH as well as 27001 certified also. So that's a quick introduction for me. So let me quickly share my screen. And please let me know if my screen is visible to everyone.
Yeah, it's showing, Sushant.
All right. So thank you everyone. Thank you for joining the session. So I'll just quickly set the context. So this is the high level objective of this particular domain 6. And after finishing off few of the topics, I have a slide kept where we can discuss some practice questions. And once we complete that, during that you can all park your questions, and during that I can actually answer those doubts. And if you have any general doubt in terms of the CISSP exam, how it is, how the preparation goes and all, maybe we can park it at the end of the session. So once the session is completed, then we can keep some 10-15 minutes, and I'll try to answer those questions as well, like in general how to prepare for the CISSP, how to actually make your schedule and accordingly ace the exam. So before starting with this particular topic, I just a quick question to all of you. Anyone here who is from maybe third-party risk assessment, SOC 1, SOC 2 reporting, audit, VAPT background here? Anyone?
Yeah, Lokesh here. I'm from audit perspective and risk assessments, but
Okay.
still not using any templates as of now.
Okay, no problem. Anyone here who is familiar with the VAPT, that SASP, DAST, IAST, black box, white box testing? Anyone have ever worked with in these domains?
Yeah, I have worked on VAPT.
Okay, great. Then we'll keep this session more interactive, and I'll even take help of you, because I'm not actually expert in all of these things. So I'll be taking help of you. So accordingly, then we'll start. So this domain 6 actually it covers about the security assessment, testing, and audit strategies, as well as it talk about how you perform the security control testing, as well as how you collect and process the security data, either it's a technical matter or the administrative matter, how you analyze the output of those particular security assessment. Apart from that, which I am not listed, this particular domain also talks about different types of VAPT techniques. Either it's a black box testing, white box testing, gray box testing, and then static application security testing, then dynamic security testing, as well as interactive application security testing. So these are high level overview of this particular domain, what we will be talking about. So if you see anyone here quickly just tell me, what do you mean by security assessment actually? And any thought, any quick answers? What do you mean by security assessment?
According to me, it is to find out the gap of the process or the environment in the entity.
Correct. Got it. So what is the assessment actually? It's actually a process of determining how effectively the entity is being evaluated, right? So suppose in your organization also, you sometimes a third party or maybe an internal team, they come for the assessment and they do assess your controls and how effectively those particular controls are operating. That is the main actually purpose of the security assessment, and the main objective of the assessment is to actually substantiate the strength and to identify weakness and the failures. So where, how you are currently operating those control, what are the different weakness which lies there, so that you can improve all those gaps and improve your security posture. That's main objective of the security assessment. And the target of the assessment is also known for the as a assessment objective, and this particular process, what we call security assessment, it's also known as the testing and the examination. That's what we call the security assessment. Now there are two different methods which generally company actually use for the assessment. One is the internal testing and second one is the external testing. So most of you are from a cybersecurity background, so most of you might be familiar what is the internal testing means. Performed by your internal teams. Every organization has a different internal team, be it a second line of defense, third line of defense, as well as in the first line of defense also. So this testing even pertains to performing the audit, as well as doing the VAPT, doing the penetration testing and everything. But generally, once you go to a third party or some your client, they don't trust what report is being generated internally. That's the case. That's why you have a external testing. There are external agencies, those who come for the audit. They do the assessment, they do the VAPT analysis of your environment, and then they generate the report. So this report is more trusted because they have actually an independent view not influenced by the organization internally. And then once you present their report, then it gives a better actually perspective to your clients as well as to your customers that yes, the security assessment has been performed and your controls and all the applications what you have deployed, they are all working as intended to. So that's what the internal testing and the external testing what we have here. And yes, so all of you, anyone here work with the third party assessment?
Yes, Shashank. Yeah, I have worked with third-party assessment. My team.
Okay. Okay. Good. So third party assessment is actually when the business need and the requirement are considered, as well as before the engaging a third party assessor service. So once you engage a third party assessment service to perform the assessment of your particular controls or maybe your services which you have, so you consider there are three major aspects which you take into the consideration. First thing is the business alignment, how the organization needs and what are the requirements, what should be considered before actually engaging those third party assessors, because the objective should be very clear, what is actually the rules of engagement, what you will have from those third parties. Then second thing is that clear boundaries. You should always define that what they will be assessing to, which all things they will have access, and for which particular tools or maybe technologies they will be having actually doing the assessment and generating the report. And third thing is the actually the confidentiality, because during performing these particular assessment, those third party may encounter any confidential or secret information related to your networking protocols or with the pro ports or the firewalls, what type of network architecture you are using or security architecture you have. So generally whenever such kind of assessment third parties are engaged, you first sign the NDA, so that your those information and the data what you are sharing, it cannot be get disclosed, as well as it gives you the protection as well in those aspects. So that is the major thing what you have once you engage with the third party assessments. Now for anyone here who have actually attended previous domains as well, domain 1 to domain 6, domain 5, sorry, previous sessions, anyone here who was part of previous sessions as well? Okay, no problem. So actually, what in CISSP, all domains are actually interconnected. You cannot see each and every domain as an individual as perspective, because in the exam also you will get the questions in a such framed in a such a way. Maybe a question will start from some another domain and the answer would be from some another domain. That's you will be able to see. So that's why you should be clear with all the domains, right? So this topic, security assessment policy. So so whenever you introduce anything in the organization, it always begin with the policy. If you're performing the security assessment in the organization should definitely have a security assessment policy, and this particular security assessment policies should broadly contain like what are the requirements of the security assessment, what are the roles and responsibilities, who which person will be performing what is going to the frequency of that particular assessment, because each and every organization as per the criticality of the business or maybe the criticality of the applications, they generally define the frequency. Like the critical application may go for the assessment once in a year, or maybe non-critical may go twice or maybe once in a 2 or 3 years. To that particular frequency should be also actually defined in security assessment policy. And fourth most important thing is the documentation. Once you actually do the assessment, you identify what are the gaps, what are the issues, then how you are going to document it. So these all are the four broad categories in which you actually define a security assessment policy. And in a information security perspective, whenever you start any process or you introduce anything in your organization, first you build your policy, because without governance that particular function won't operate. So even in the exam perspective also, if you see anything which is talking about introducing new thing in the organization, always think about the policy. First you build a policy, then everything starts in the organization. And once you actually have a security assessment policy, then you define a security assessment plan. So this security assessment plan, actually, it's a document that actually defines the purpose, scope, and the steps which are actually necessary and required to conduct a security assessment. Because whenever you are performing assessment in the organization, you should know what is the purpose and scope of that particular, because without a scope, you cannot just go and check anything or everything which is there in the organization, or all the applications you cannot cover, right? You so that purpose and scope should be clearly defined. Then which all people will be included in that particular assessment, and what are the test dates, when we would like to actually conduct the security assessment, when it will get completed. Then third thing is that what is the criteria of that particular test, and which all are going to be the dependencies of while conducting that particular test. This is also a very important thing which is there in the part of the security assessment plan. And the fourth and the last important thing, that is the process and the procedure. So whenever you're conducting a security assessment, you should have a well defined process, and you should have a checklist procedure, well, everything in place, so that people follow those procedures and checklist, and then they accordingly they do and conduct that particular security assessment. And actually a good security assessment plan should contain these all broad categories to actually give a successful result. That is very important. And once you complete your security assessment, then you generate a security assessment report. Now, what this security assessment report contains? So once you conduct the vulnerability assessment in the organization, right? Then you generate this security assessment report. And a good security assessment report is actually the one which actually is aligned with the security assessment plan. Whatever you defined in the security assessment plan, according to that, you should generate a security assessment report. And this is a particular document which actually defines the approach and the process and the result of a security assessment. Once you conduct it, this particular security assessment report will be presented to the leadership in the organization and to the other stakeholders, and this will actually give you that exactly what was the purpose and the objective of the security assessment. And the goal of this particular report is to actually identify the security risks which are particularly discovered by the security assessment. Because once you conduct the assessment, the major actually the objective of conducting any kind of assessment in the organization is first to identify the risk. And once you are actually able to identify what are the risks covered, then you define the assets and the results of the security assessment, which particular are assets covered as part of this assessment, and what were the actually different risks which team identifies in those particular assets. And then you document the process as well as what are the steps taken to actually produce the result, because that is also very important, which method you follow to actually generate those results. And then you communicate the findings and the recommendations to all your stakeholders. So this is the broadly what a security assessment report consists of. And this is a very important topic from a CISSP perspective, actually. Apart from that, what are actually the different benefits of having a security assessment report, right? First thing is that you can build a consumer confidence, because once you show your security assessment report, this report will be able to tell them that what are the different gaps you identified, right? What are the different risks you identified, and how you actually mitigated those risks, which all new controls you introduced in your organization. So this particular report gives sense of confidence to your customers, and you can demonstrate that. Second thing is the regulatory compliance, because there are regulatory bodies, they also comes for the actually check of your organization. You can present this particular security assessment report, which will actually contain all the evidences of the different thing what you conducted during the security assessment. And then also it helps you during the legal protection, as well as the future opportunities also it will give you. So this is the broad benefit what you gain from a security assessment report. No, no, this is a question here for everyone. So anyone here who can answer that, what is actually the broad difference between the test and assessment? Anyone?
From my understanding, and just so testing is something where we have implemented something and which we want a result, where we go ahead with the testing of the server, or like example like a patching. If we
Correct.
patch something and we try to test whether the actual patching has been implemented and it is serving the purpose. Assessment is something where we already deployed everything, but are those controls working properly? And if not, what is the gap where we can improve it? So this is my understanding.
Correct, correct, correct. Yeah, you are right. Anyone else would like to try?
Yeah, I would think
When
testing would be
security
something like
testing,
verification or validation of what has been assessed. Pretty much, it's a post-assessment thing to make sure that what has been assessed has been verified and validated. And assessment is the process to understand of going through the in a more virtual way into understanding what has been done, but not really tested and not really implemented, kind of.
Correct, correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone else was
yeah,
trying to say something.
I mean, in a nutshell, security testing aims to identify and fix vulnerabilities before they're exploited. Assessment evaluates the overall security posture of a system or an organization to identify potential weaknesses and gaps.
Correct, correct. So thank you for those answers. So somewhat all of you are correct. So test is something which actually gives you some kind of a result, right? It's a pass or fail. Like you're testing one particular you like someone said, right? You deployed one patch in a server, and either the patch will actually deploy it successfully or it will not. So it will gives you a result, right? So that's why, as you can see, what the definition says, it's a comparison between the system properties and predetermined standardized configuration, right? You have already a standardized configuration. Against that, you check that what are system properties, and then accordingly you get the result. But the assessment actually it is a overall, I'll say, a bird's eye view where you have multiple test series of tests and you run them, and then you get a comprehensive result over there, like what is generally being done in the audits, right? The audits what you have, they actually check multiple things in your organization, and accordingly then they generate the report. So that's what is there in the assessment. So that's a broad definition over here. Now I have few questions here, so let's test the knowledge, whatever we have discussed so far, and maybe while we are going through these questions, if you any one of you have any doubt in whatever we covered so far, we can discuss that as well. So I'll just yeah, these are the two questions, and uh, let's see. Maybe you all can give your answers in the chat box for both the questions, number one and number two.
Um, According to me, DBAC.
Which one?
First one. What I'm trying to say is, once we find it, that all the organization has unauthorized access to the servers. So first, I will make sure that terminate the penetration testing and pass this finding to the server management team. Then I'll say use system privilege to alert the permission to secure the server, and immediately document the findings and reporting to the senior management. But after that, once the management is there, then continue testing to its complete, and then inform the IT team.
Got it. Got it.
Maybe wrong.
Anyone else
Just try
here
it.
has some different views?
Sorry, Shushant, do I need to bring it in one series, or it is like only one answer we
No,
have
no,
to
it's
give for that?
actually, yeah. Let me clarify. In
Yeah.
CISSP, there is only one correct answer. So what
Sorry,
what the
I thought.
question say is, what is the first action you will take? So
Correct, correct.
suppose you keep yourself in that particular situation. So what is going to be the first action? What you will take?
Okay.
And then those other
Got it.
whatever is there,
I
those
thought
can
it
be
is series.
secondary. Yeah.
Sorry for my bad.
So in
It's
CISSP, actually,
pretty,
there are no multiple choice questions.
yeah.
Got it.
Uh,
Got it. Yeah.
Sushant, I think from CISP perspective that all of them look like right answer, but which is the most accurate answer? From that point, it should be C for the first
Okay.
one.
Okay. Sure. We'll discuss all the answer, and even I'll give my logic also, and maybe it can be correct or incorrect also. So that's how you analyze in CSSP all the questions.
According to me, it is A.
Hmm. And how about the second question? If anyone here who is from the like VAPT and all, maybe they'll be able to guess. Or maybe if you have some basic understanding of SDLC life phases, that how it works, and what you perform generally during development phase, maybe you'll be able to answer the second question.
It is first testing. Basically, if you want to test the white box testing, ideally product should be at least somewhere in UAT stage, in USD stage, and black box testing anyway. That is also at later stage. So I feel it is first testing where we can validate like with multiple combination of inputs or anything like that.
Mhm. Anyone else have some different opinion for the second question?
Mm, I'm just going with an assumption that white box testing, because they know the environment, they are doing some development activity, so they know that.
Mhm. Correct. Okay. So let me answer those. So first one suggestion from me actually to all of you, whenever you sit for the CISSP exam, actually follow a elimination strategy, right? Try to eliminate as many options as you can from the available options, right? So that you can actually reach out to a correct answer. Like suppose out of the four option, even if you are able to eliminate two, right, and then you are doing a guesswork for remaining two, so at least you have a 50-50 chance of getting it correct. So follow this strategy to all the questions what you get in the CISSP. It will be very easy for you to actually answer the correct. So now the first question. So in the CISSP, all the questions they generally have such kind of keywords. Here you see first action, right? It's talking about what is going to be the first thing. Like I am conducting action that a system administrator will take. It's talking about system administrator, uh, not from a perspective of the person who is actually doing the assessment. When it is revealed during a penetration testing that everyone in the organization has an unauthorized access to a server holding a sensitive data. Now we identify this particular thing. Now let's go option by option. First one is the immediately document the finding and report to senior management. Look like a good option to me. Let us park, and then we'll go to second. Use system privileges to alter the permission to secure the server. that's not a correct thing. Like looks like you are using your privileges and alter the permissions. It means you are trying to hide that thing which was discovered. As an administrator, there is already a finding, so you are immediately just altering the permission and securing the server. It's actually you are going directly to the solution rather than actually analyzing the result. There can be some other issues also associated with that, so you should not do that. That's my logic to this. And third is continue the testing to its completion and then inform IT management. Actually, if you continue to do the completion, maybe the kind of a risk which is there, it may actually remain there in the system till the time you are doing the testing, and the testing may take some time, right? So you cannot actually leave that particular sensitive data there in the server for such a longer period of time. Now B and C, as per me, eliminated. Now we are left with the A and D. Now we'll see which one is the best option out of them. So D is talking about the terminate the penetration test and pass the finding to server management team. So me being a system administrator, why would I actually terminate? Actually, it would have been a good option if it is not actually written as a terminate. I'll not terminate the penetration test. I'll continue to do the testing, right? So the best option here would be A here. Immediately document the finding and report to the senior management, because whenever you are doing a kind of a, such kind of a, you found such kind of a sensitive data, you document it and report to the senior management. Then other options will come after that. First thing is that to apprise the senior management about this particular finding. Then maybe you, then with their discussion, you may think of, okay, they'll say, okay, terminate the penetration test and pass it to server management team and do remediation. Or maybe they may tell that, okay, use the system privileges and alter the permission to secure the server. Anything can come. But first thing is to actually apprise the senior management. That's why this first action is very important. This particular is the keyword here in the question to actually for the right answer.
Yeah, my argument is also for D. You are also using D by informing the server management of, finding their, they can hide it under the carpet, and you are taking directly to the server management team who has actually provided data access without any authority. So he has not done any review or not followed the instructions, pretty much passing the sensitive data at the first instance.
Yes.
So by reaching out to them, you are actually trying to not already find out what has happened in the so far, and the senior management may not be aware. And when, if suppose something has been, risk is already taken place, and that is not known to the senior management until it is found out or it has come to yeah. So
correct
also,
argument.
Yeah.
So that's why in the CISSP you need to think like a manager, not like a practitioner or a kind of a person who is actually sitting and doing some passing out some command. You are thinking as a perspective of a CISO. So always think from that perspective and then answer all the questions. And this was actually the straightforward question.
Sushant, I have a different perspective on this.
Okay.
The reason I chose C, for example, you are saying this is a critical finding the pen tester has discovered, so he needs to report it to senior management. That should be his first action. But
correct.
What if after that there is another critical finding? Don't you think this should be compiled together and a complete report should be sent at one go, rather than at each stage he keeps finding a new critical observation? So every time will he keep informing, or wait to complete the test and then give a final report? These are the critical observations. I mean, this is my perception on this.
Yeah. So Shailesh, let me just explain you how it works. So like you also know, in the organization, the testing generally takes a lot of time, right? It will not happen that you complete the testing, maybe you start today and within a week you finish your testing, right? It may take a month altogether to actually go over all the servers, identify the finding. And this particular option is talking about continue to testing to its completion. If this completion word would not have been here, right, then maybe it would have been a viable option.
Right. Okay.
So in the CISSP, actually, sometimes people say it's a kind of an English exam also. So you need to actually read between the line, read between the words also. What actually the word is saying over there. It's like if you're not able to actually read that particular option correctly, maybe you will be able to get the answer incorrectly. That's why I read all the questions properly, because a single word may change the answer for that particular question.
Okay.
And this,
And I have a question here. What is the technical term that you have already compromised some sensitive data? So you have discovered now, but in the meanwhile, because it must have been, since it was open for some time until you found out, and you are reporting to the management, which is good. But then you also want to know what has it been already subjected to any, has it been compromised? In technical terms, what do you mean in cybersecurity terms? Just like recently, we are talking about that signal, WhatsApp and other things, signal messages. So something may have happened, something may not have happened, but similar to that, I'm asking what your uh, take on that.
so I actually entirely did not understood your question. So you are saying that what should that particular finding documentation should include? What should be there in the report? That's what you are
No,
asking?
as regards the answer, I agree that so basically the our logic is correct in terms of determining the answer, but we also need to know if it has any damage has been done. So I'm using the word already, some damage has been done due to, or our sensitive data has already been breached, or it has been compromised. So does also that needs to be actioned as well from the senior management? Will be a follow-up. I'm just
Correct.
asking.
So
Yeah.
yes. So let me tell you. So keep the question aside. So it's not from the question perspective. And then one more suggestion from me: whenever you are writing the CISSP exam, right? Too much if you analyze all the questions very deep, and you do too much analysis, you also end up getting the question incorrect, right? So just go whatever is written there and then accordingly answer that. Now to your answer. So once you actually identify what is this particular finding, and you are just reporting it to senior management, but to identify what is the damage, or has someone actually accessed the data, or was some kind of a damage done, it may take some time, right? Because you will be then analyzing the everything in deep. Maybe you may take help of some other teams. You need to actually trace it back to the network ports and all, who all have accessed it. Maybe you will be taking reviewing the log of last 6 months and all, since how long this particular data was there. So it will take some time. That particular analysis, that particular result will take some time. So that cannot be done immediately. So immediately is you identify your finding, you just report, you are reporting it to senior management that I found out there was sensitive data in the in this particular server. That's it. You're reporting it. Now analysis and all, it may take time, because it cannot be done immediately, because then you will be reviewing all the logs from the server. Maybe you may take 6 month log, or maybe 1 year logs, and then you be analyzing the results and all. You will see, okay, who all were accessing to data. Was there any access of the data from a maybe a open port, or maybe from the web also was the server access? Those kind of thing will come in between. I hope I'm able to answer your question.
No, let me. Yeah, I agree. Maybe I was not clear in that. Is my apologies. So what I thought was, as per this question is concerned, I agree and I answered that. That is good. I'm only taking this as an additional follow-up question on the similar lines. What would now you have informed the senior management, they are aware of it. What would be the action they will take in order to do that analysis if something has been damaged? Obviously, that needs to be done. So that is what I'm asking as a follow-up question. Like, what can that question be, and what would they be trying to do? What is
So,
that report?
that's why I answered, right, that you will be actually forming up a team. Maybe senior management will form a team. They'll tell, okay, please do the log analysis of that particular server. Check
Okay,
the
it's a
log
long.
of last 1 year. Yeah, because
Right.
logs are the one which will tell you that which all people actually access that particular server, right? And then
Okay.
those logs will only able to tell you what is the real picture.
Yeah. So you're talking about the audit trail and other things, log
Correct.
analysis.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
And then the second question is, it's why it's white box testing. Generally, the testing which you perform during a SDLC development, right? It's a static testing. You do code reviews, right? There are some, if someone is familiar with here with the DevOps pipeline, there are static analysis tools which actually analyze the code when you are pushing it into the DevOps pipeline, and they continuously analyze for any anomalies or any kind of a parameter what you have there in your organization. So this is a white box testing, because you already know what is there in that particular application. That's why it's white box testing. Black box testing would be there if you are not even aware about the environment. So that is the incorrect. And the fuzz testing is something a different perspective. It's actually giving a fuzz input to one particular application and then actually checking out its result. I'll be talking about this in the later slides. And the visual testing is actually just visually looking at the data. So that will not render any result. So the best option here would be a white box testing. So that's two questions. Okay, then let's get started with the next topic. So if you see, CISSP is actually the body which is from the US, right? So most of the methodologies as well as the terminologies which you find there in the exam, it will be very closely aligned with the NIST framework, because that is also what they adopt there in the US. So in the exam, you will mostly find the questions as well as the framework what they use, that is from the NIST perspective. So what is the NIST actually perspective of defining an assessment plan as well as the developing of the those particular steps? So NIST actually framework, it actually gives a different steps as well as to the assessor what should they consider when they are developing an assessment plan for the information security testing. And these are the broad steps what is defined in the NIST actually document. They say that you first determine what is the type of the security control you are assessing. Second step is that you determine the security control and enhancement what need to be included in that particular scope what you have. Then you select the appropriate assessment procedure to be used, which particular process you will be using. An assessment procedure can be you will be doing the testing, you will be examining it, or you will be doing the assessment through interview process. So that you will do next. Then you tailor the selected assessment procedure to match the organizational operating environment, because each organization has a different environment, and maybe the one which you can use in one organization may not work in the second organization. So you tailor this particular assessment as per that, and then you finalize the assessment plan and obtain the approval from the necessary stakeholders before going ahead. That's the broad steps which are actually defined by the NIST while performing the assessments. And now, once you're performing an assessment, what are the top questions what it can contain, right? First one is what is the scope of the assessment? Because scope is very important to cover. Like in your organization, you may be having some 20,000 servers, right? But the scope, you will say this time the scope will cover only critical servers. So out of those 20,000 servers, you will say, okay, only 1,000 servers are the critical servers. So we will be only targeting those 1,000 critical servers which store the sensitive information or maybe host the sensitive applications. So we'll be targeting that. That is the scope. Now the authorization. So who is actually authorized to conduct? That is very important thing. Like because the person who is actually performing the assessment, they will have a lot of sensitive information as well as have a lot of privileges while performing the assessment. So that is very important to be actually defined in your assessment plan. And then logistics need means what all things will be required as a part of the assessments. Like they may need some administrative access, or maybe some another accesses need to be provided, or some other tools which they may use during the assessment process. Those all things will come in the logistics. And the data handling, how they will actually handle the sensitive data. Will they have only view access, or only read access, or write access, and all these all things will come as part of the scope, so that that particular sensitive information is not disclosed. And then if suppose any incident occurs in between in that particular process, how you are going to actually tackle or handle that particular incident, that will also be part of the assessment plan. Now, these are the three broad assessment methods which are generally being followed in the organization. And what is the testing? Actually, testing we already covered, right? This is particularly the process of actually seeing that one or more particular assessment objectives are under specified conditions, and then they compare the actual as well as the expected behaviors. Right? You have some kind of a defined set of guidelines, and then against that you are actually checking that particular parameter. Like suppose let me take example of one particular server you have, and in that particular server you have deployed some application or maybe the databases. There are some hardening guidelines as per your organization which is given. You follow those hardening guidelines and you see, okay, is the anti-malware is installed in that particular server? Is that are the ports to the web are closed? Is the EDR agent deployed in that particular server? So these guidelines may vary organization to organization. You check those guidelines and then you see the result. Okay, this particular server is performing well or not. Second thing is the examination means actually doing the inspection by yourself, and then you analyze the assessment objective. So in this particular process, what you do, you actually check, inspect, as well as the review and observe and study, as well as analyze one or more assessment objectives. And then you try to understand that the evidence which you obtain, then you see that, okay, are they giving you the intended result or not? And interviewing is simply conducting the interviews to the people. Like suppose you are, I took example of performing the assessment of some 1,000 critical server. Then you interview maybe all those stakeholders which are actually involved in managing those servers. What methodologies they are following, which particular tools they are using, are they following all the guidelines which are issued by the organization, are they have all the controls which are intended to be there in place to actually protect those 1,000 servers. That's what you do in the interview. And in this particular interview, actually the assessment team should have a balance to provide a well-rounded view of the organization security process. That's very important. And the assessor also conduct the examination and test using a technical method as well as the technique which are actually described in the guide which is generally provided to the assessment team. Now,
I have a question here. What is the output or outcome from examination and the other one? Like you mentioned result from testing, right? So examination and the other one from the previous slide. Yeah, the interviewing and examination. What is the output after examination and what is the output after interviewing?
So all these three techniques, they will actually result, they will give an output as a security assessment report. That's
Okay.
what is your end result. So
Okay.
you may adopt a technique of using the testing. You may do it through examination or through interview, or you may use a mix or match of these all. But the end result and output would be security assessment report, which will actually give you what is the current posture of your organization.
Got it. Thank you.
So if
And
I'm not wrong, sorry.
yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry, sir. Yeah. So if I'm not wrong, it is something I remember about the SAF testing, which is Security Assurance Framework. It uses testing, and after that, it examines all the evidence and whether there's a gap in that. And then last, it will be, we'll check with the entities whether it is in scope or not scope, and can be considered and go for the next course of action.
Similar to that, even if you people might have heard of SOC 2, SOC 3, and SOC 1 reporting, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
so those SOC 2s and SOC 3 reporting, it's a kind of a result outcome of this. So once you perform a SOC 2 or maybe the SOC 1 audit of your organization, so you call maybe some third party entity, they come to your organization, and then once they complete that particular evaluation of your organization, then they give you report, right? That your SOC 2 and SOC
Right.
1 and SOC 2 report, which contains the result of all those controls, what is the effectiveness of those controls. So that particular report is an example of the security assessment report in a broad nutshell. Or maybe it can be the ISO 27001 report also. So these are the different actually I'll say bodies which actually gives you a guideline that these broad lines of things should be covered as part of this, or maybe a PCI DSS audit you are performing of your organization. So that once that particular teams comes, they do it through testing, they do it through examination, or they may interview all the stakeholders, and at the end they'll be generating a report with that, and that particular report will be which we call a security assessment report, which will give you everything, and they may recommend that okay, this particular organization is compliant with all the guidelines which is there in that particular document which they have. I hope I'm clear.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thanks.
All right. So this is actually the assessment team. So once you are forming a kind of an assessment team, so that particular team should have a broad skills. It's not necessary that that particular team is only very good with the cybersecurity things, because while doing the assessment, they may encounter some different types of findings also. So apart from having a technical expertise, they should have a very good analytical skills, because they may need to analyze a huge amount of data and then coming up with the kind of a recommendation out of that particular data. They should be having very good communication skills, because the report which they will be forming, that particular report should be able to actually describe all the finding results in a clear manner, so that organization can take actually cognizance of that, and as well as able to analyze the results. And then they should have a broad industry knowledge. They should have seen multiple organizations, so that they can actually give a recommendations accordingly, and then definitely a problem solving skills. This is what they should have. Now again, practice questions for all of you. Yeah, so take your time. I've already covered this first part, difference between test and assessment, when I explained it.
Both answers are A.
Correct. Somehow you got it. And anyone else would like to try something, some different opinion you have?
Yeah, first one is according to me it is B. I'll just yeah.
Yes, A and B is little confusing. That's what I call it's English exam. So please read
yeah.
carefully those two
Sure.
options. Yeah.
Sure.
All right, let's discuss the correct answer. So I've already actually gave this definition, right? So this particular A and B, it's just they have flipped some
Flipped, yeah.
words.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually the correct answer is B. Why? Because the test, what is the comparison between the
Between-
properties of a system and some predetermined standardized configuration. However, assessment is actually a series of tests. Assessment is a broad perspective what you are doing. Test is a small use case of that. You are just testing one particular application or one particular server. You have a checklist or predefined determined guidelines, against that you are testing, and then you are generating the result. It's a pass or fail, right? So that's why the correct option is B here.
I think D is the correct option for second one. Means just check it.
Yes. So let me tell you here, if I would have changed the security manager to
Managers.
security practitioner, right?
Okay.
Then you would have
D.
gone with the security attack surface and the supported technologies,
Oh,
right?
QA
But
only.
I'm talking in the terms of the security manager. So if I think from the perspective of security manager, definitely he'll go ahead with the culture of the organization and what are the likelihood of the exposure. Actually a broad perspective what you have as a security managers, right?
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
Like suppose if I ask some person in the SOC team, maybe a L2 analyst from a SOC team, that okay, you need to actually select a security testing method of the two, please tell me, maybe he'll go with the option D.
QA only. I think thought about that only. I forgot that it should be like CSO who should be analyzing it. I thought well in the way of SOC team only.
Correct.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
that's how the option changes over here. So anyone have any doubts or anything they would like to ask, whatever we covered so far? So this particular domain is actually, I'll say, more from a theoretical perspective. It's very theoretical in nature, not like other domain like domain 5, which is the previous one, which is related to identity and access management. There are a lot of technical terminologies and those things are involved. And even the networking domain also. So all those people who comes from the networking area, they might like that particular domain. So this particular domain is very theoretical in nature. It all talks about the different definitions, risk management, assessment, testing, and all. So few of you might feel boring also what is being taught, but yeah, that's there in the syllabus actually.
Yeah, and
Even
just a question on the. I agree with the answer on that second one with the culture of the organization and likelihood of exposure. That is perfect. But however, I think that answer is good for every organization, right? So it's by default an answer for a security manager. So we can just take that answer, right? Because a culture, we cannot say that for this organization, this is the type of culture. You cannot categorize the culture. I don't know if or is it something that you can mention?
Let me take example, right? Suppose
Yeah.
you are a security manager in a startup, right? That time, if suppose you are considering or selecting a security testing method, your perspective may change. And if suppose you are a part of a security manager, which is large organization, maybe a global organization with maybe a million number of customers and some more than thousands of the employees. So that time your perspective may change, right? That's why
Okay.
the culture of the organization play a very crucial role here.
Right. Yeah.
And likelihood of exposure will also differ from organization to organization. Maybe a large bank or maybe a large product based company, those have a wider presence all across the globe, they may get targeted more as compared to a small startup which are actually targeting one particular small area, right? So as you see,
So in security terms, what is that single word which, just like you, sorry, I'm asking that question. It may be dumb, but I'm just asking. So it's an insecure organization or it's a very diverse culture. So people come from different things, or, generally, I understand when, people different traditions. So generally to release information, to that kind of thing. But then what is that single word that determines, okay, these are the different types of cultures, and the security manager can get, this is why I justify that I need to take consideration of this is my assessment of the culture of the organization, if there's a likelihood of exposure. So what would he present that as a justification for the security method or the tool that, so our
correct.
culture of the organization is this, and
Yes.
so it's good or bad or whatever it is. So I don't know the term, so I'm asking.
Culture, actually, you don't think culture from the perspective of HR, right? So culture from a perspective of is it a risk averse, right?
Risk cover.
Because yeah,
Okay.
because if it's a startup, right, they are ready to take more amount of risk because they
Okay.
are just growing. But if it's a bank with a million number of customers, they cannot actually afford to actually lose a sensitive customer information because it will impact their reputation. They'll lose customer, they will lose revenue. So that's how the
Right.
culture affect, right?
Okay.
That's why you may go with the tools which are actually covering a larger area or maybe providing a good number of results. That's why it may change organization to organization.
Right. Agree. Thanks.
All right. Now we are going to the next topic, which actually is into the VAPT or the software assessments and all. So someone told, right, they are from a VAPT vulnerability assessment testing background.
I have some hands-on and experience on this.
Okay, okay. Good, good, good. So once you verify a software product, right? So there are these are the four broad perspective which you take. First one is the functional testing, which is functionally testing the software or the application which you are working, right? You run the application, then you actually check the result, and you see that the particular application is giving you intended result or not. Static analysis is actually going over the code line by line. So whenever in all those software development team, there are generally a team lead, right? One particular software developer develops a code, and then another particular person or maybe a team lead who is more experienced, he'll analyze that particular code. But these days there are a lot of automated tools. They automatically, you have automated definitions defined over there. They'll analyze those particular code. Is it free from the errors? Because in the security, what they call, you should introduce security as from the beginning of the product itself, right? Because if you introduce some kind of a vulnerability there in the code itself, it will be very difficult to actually detect those particular vulnerabilities at the end, and it may give a backdoor or maybe a issue to your team, as well as gives an opportunity to the attacker. They may leverage those. That's why you have a static analysis. And the dynamic analysis is actually once you are running the in the runtime environment, you are actually analyzing the application. So once application is there in the run, so you might have heard about the SAST and DAST. So the SAST is this static analysis, and DAST is this dynamic analysis. So these are the different techniques. And third one is the code reviews. When you analyze the source code, two people actually review each other's code, and then they see that are they free from errors, or they have the particular thing what it is intended to have in that particular code.
Yeah,
Now,
is code see basically in this slide, like how are you differentiating between static analysis and code reviews? Uh, like see, basically static analysis in most of the cases it happens on the code only.
so code review is actually, it's a part. Static analysis is a broad term. Code reviews
Yeah,
is actually part of that. So I'll
correct.
say a larger umbrella is a static analysis, and
Yeah.
code review is part of that.
Okay. So is it similar kind of thing when it comes to functional testing as well? Like
Correct.
functional testing or dynamic analysis, there may be
So the
somehow
function,
related.
yeah, functional testing and dynamic analysis, they are also interrelated to each other.
Okay.
Now it got confused to me. See, everything everything seems very similar now. Like what do you call functional testing is related with dynamic analysis, and static analysis is with uh, code review.
Correct. So functional
Like
testing, as the
yeah.
name suggests, right? You run the application, and then you see is it able to perform all those intended function or not. Like suppose you have one particular application software, maybe I'll say it's a you develop one application software which is able to actually give you login ID and password you enter, and it should be able to take you somewhere in that particular end portal where that particular application is able to take, right? So is it able to reach you there or not? That's you are doing there in the functional testing. But in the dynamic analysis, that particular application is when it is running during the runtime, you actually insert you have multiple test cases. You will try to bombard it with some you will try to give a wrong input over there. Like suppose
Okay.
you have internet banking password and ID, right? So you will so maybe in the password field, maybe they have a limitation of the 16 character. Maybe attacker will actually insert 100 lines over there, and the application may crash, right? That you don't want to happen with you.
Right.
that
Right.
that you will do in the dynamic analysis. And the static analysis is generally performed when you are while you are developing the application. Once you are while you developing the application, that time you actually read the code what you have. Is that particular code is free from the errors or maybe the issues. And that particular static analysis, generally you can say it can be manually, or these days there are a lot of automated tools which are available in the market which actually use to do this static analysis.
Yeah, just I want to add something. Like, see, basically, the way I understand is when it comes to functional testing and code reviews, they're mostly from the application functionality point of view, like whether that code is optimized or not, or application is working as expected or not. And static analysis and dynamic analysis is actually where the security testing happens, basically. That's what my understanding is.
Correct. That's correct. No, no, the verification and the validation. So these are actually the broad terms what you have. So what is the verification? When you actually have a documented requirement which are agreed upon by the stakeholders, and then you look for the consistency as well as the completeness and the correctness of that particular information and the software and that particular supporting documents what you have. That's what is there in the verification, right? Are we building a correct system or the correct product what we are supposed to do? That you do in the verification. In the validation, you actually uh, try to check the level of confidence. Are we building the right system? So first one is the, are we building the system right? Second one is the, are we building the right system? So first one is to actually check, you are verifying the product, that are we actually building the that particular application software or the product in a right manner? Are you following all those practices and or not? And the second one is actually the check that whatever was requirement given. Validation means once you have a project charter, you have some intended requirement which is given by your client or the customer. Is those particular requirement you are able to meet or not? That's there in the validation. Is it confusing or clear to everyone?
Little bit confusing, but reading again and again, it's clear.
Yeah, it's actually both terms are actually very confusing in nature because the definition is almost same. So verification is actually when you are building your product or the system, are you building it correctly with the correct guidelines, with the correct methodologies? And the validation is actually that the product which you are building, is it a right product or not? What was given in your particular project charter, or maybe the document which was given by the by your stakeholders, is it fulfilling all those requirements or not? That is there in the validation. Now we come to the vulnerability assessment. So anyone here worked on or have some knowledge of vulnerability VAPT process, how it works?
Yes, Sushant, I'm doing this vulnerability governance for my organization.
Okay, maybe quickly you may just tell me what is actually the vulnerability assessment.
Okay, so vulnerability is basically finding the flaw in our existing system. So whatever we have installed or we have set up our environment with the list of applications or infrastructure, we need to find out whether it has been all set right or there are any flaws. So for that, we run an assessment using a tool called Qualys. So we need to find, with the list of process, like identify what is the scope, whether it is the list of applications or servers. So you need to clearly define your scope. So identify, uh, protect, detect, respond, and discover based on list controls. We work on this subject.
Correct. You are right. So let me give you what is the definition which is actually defined in the book of the CISSP of this vulnerability assessment. What they call, they say it's a systematic examination of an information system or the product to determine the adequacy of the security measures, identify the security deficiencies, as well as provide data from which to predict the effectiveness of the proposed security measures and confirm the adequacy of such measures are implemented. Let me simplify this. So in your organization, you may have multiple systems, applications, software, and tools which are being used day in, day out. So in the vulnerability assessment, you actually, maybe you these days people generally use the automated tools. So you use those particular tools you see what are the different vulnerabilities in the system, what are the loopholes or the gap in the system, and these particular vulnerabilities are actually being checked in the later sites. I'll be talking about the CV database and all. So this particular CV database or maybe the configuration related issues, these are actually already defined in one MITRE. There's one organization named as the MITRE. They have one portal where you can list all the vulnerabilities which are there in your applications. So like suppose, let me take example of the Adobe Reader, right? So all organizations are using the Adobe Reader. So Adobe being a product organization, they keep checking that their product for such kind of vulnerabilities. If they find any kind of vulnerability in their system, they generally give it a common nomenclature, and they actually make that particular nomenclature is known as a CV, which is a definition of that particular vulnerability, and then they paste it over there in that particular common portal known as the CV portal. And these all Qualys and all those tools which organization use, those particular tools, they pick up those particular CVE database, and then they see is that particular vulnerability present in the system. Apart from that, also there are other things that they will even notify you. Are there any open ports? Because for all the application and software in these particular tools, they have a set definition. They will look for all those loopholes and the gaps which application may possess, and accordingly, once you get that particular data, then you need to assess the result, because there can be some false positive also over there present, or maybe tool is giving you some information. It may happen that that is not correct. That's why you do the vulnerability assessment. You actually, whatever vulnerabilities you identify in the process, you assess those, you get the result, you check are they true vulnerabilities and or not, and then accordingly you may proceed, and then you move to the next step, uh, go for the remediation of those particular vulnerabilities. So there are these are the broad categories of the vulnerability assessments what we have. Unauthenticated scans, authenticated scans, and web vulnerability scans. In unauthenticated scan is actually when you run without a special privileges simulating external attack. It's kind of a black box testing. Like people are not aware of actually some kind of attack happening. So in a black box testing, you hire some outside penetration tester. People are not aware about it. You run those scans, and then you see what are the vulnerabilities which simulate a perspective of a outside attacker. If they have some kind of a tool. So these are the unauthenticated scan. Authenticated scans are which are actually known to the organization. You have set intervals, you generally perform these VAPT scans, and then you generate the report, like Shailesh told about that Qualys scan, right? So those scans are generally being performed in the organization on a set interval, and it generates the vulnerabilities, and you get the data. And then there are web vulnerability scans, which are for the special purpose tools to actually analyze the web applications which are facing the internet, and then you run these web vulnerability scans, and then you identify the vulnerabilities in the web applications. Now, once you actually perform the vulnerability scan, so what can be the frequency of actually performing those particular scans, right? So once you perform an initial scan, so initial scan may give you some kind of a false positive information also, and that particular false positive you need to validate, you need to verify, right? And second thing, once you do introduce a new application in the environment, that time also you generally perform these vulnerability scans to identify any kind of vulnerabilities they have. If you modify the application, suppose you do some product modification, you are doing some changes. After that, also you must perform vulnerability scan to identify the new modification what you have carried out in the application. Has it introduced any kind of vulnerabilities or maybe the backdoors in the application? And the regular schedules, as I already told, that at a certain regular interval of time in the organization, it may be monthly or maybe 6 monthly. It may vary organization to organization. So they, on the regular interval, they have tools which actually run the scans, and then they give you result of the vulnerabilities what are present in the system. Rules of engagement. So this is very important thing. So generally most of the organization, when they have a penetration testing, they hire a third party vendors, because once you are getting the penetration PT done through a third party vendors, the report which is being generated is more trusted. And second thing is that they have a broad perspective. They have actually seen multiple organizations, and once you are engaging them, the rules of engagement is very important. This rules of engagement, I can say it a contract, because once you are engaging the third party to actually perform a PT on your system, so you need to actually define everything very clearly in the scope, right? It may not happen that they may siphon some kind of sensitive data or sensitive information out of the system, and they may then may you may lose trust, or you may cause the issues, right? So that's why in the rules of engagement you should define the scope very clearly, that what is going to be the scope of this particular PT, which all applications will be covered, what logistics means, what tools you will be using, because all the organization they have some kind of restrictions, right? That you will not use any open source tools which are there in the market. You may use these kind of tools only. Those all things can be defined in the rules of engagement. And the legal aspects also you need to take into consideration, because the GDPR and other laws are there. Like if you're performing the PT on the European citizen data, do they need to be informed and all as per the legal aspects of that particular country? Those also things need to be considered and need to be defined in the rules of engagement. So in a nutshell, rules of engagement, you can call it as a contract which you sign with that particular third party PT tester who will be actually coming and doing the PT on your system. Yes, no, this is a very important topic, right? So anyone of you who know what is the CVE, CVSS and CCE?
Oh, sorry, it's already written over there. Common vulnerability and exposure, CVE, where whenever there is an vulnerability being introduced or hit, if anybody reports it, that this has been impacting several systems or servers, a CVE is being conducted, means assigned to that.
Correct.
Maybe
So
I'm not fully correct, but yes.
yes,
I don't know.
yes. And then what is CVSS?
Giving some scores, actually, like 1 to 10. If it is 10, which is very high, critical. So it has to be immediately taken action, and if there is a workaround, we need to fix those vulnerabilities immediately.
Correct. In next slide, actually, I'll be explaining that in details. What is the environmental score? What is the temporal score and all? And then what about CCE?
Sorry, just I think this is the first time I'm seeing this. I'm sorry.
So CCE actually, it's not actually a vulnerability. These are actually the configuration issues, because any product company, if they actually have some kind of a software and tool, they have some kind of a predefined configuration that you should be having these all things activated. And suppose you are not configuring that particular thing in that particular manner, it may introduce a vulnerability. So in the once you go to the CVE database, you will find the CCE as well as CVE both listed over there. So
Okay,
what is the CVE? CVE is actually a common nomenclature which is given to the vulnerability. Like suppose there is a vulnerability maybe in a Microsoft, one particular application, maybe let me take example of Microsoft Teams. So that particular vulnerability will have a common nomenclature with some numbers and all, at what date, what year it was identified, so that that particular vulnerability, if it is identified in any system across the world, maybe in any application, they know, okay, this is the vulnerability which I identify. This is what the patch is available for that, so that I can remediate those particular vulnerabilities. And CVSS is actually it's a kind of a assigning a score to those particular CVs. However, there is already, if you go to CVE database, you will always find a score which is given to any identified vulnerabilities. But those scores are independent to the environment. So let me take example. Suppose you have application which is deployed in the prod environment, and same application you have deployed in the non-prod environment. So which one you will patch first?
prod.
Prod,
Sorry,
right?
sir. Prod.
Because the environment has changed, right? Because that the score which you assign to the vulnerability which is there in the prod would be higher as compared to the non-prod, because the environmental score will decrease because it is not actually facing internet, and or maybe let me take example of standalone system. You have some application deployed in the standalone system which is not connected to the internet. You may not patch that vulnerability at all because it's not actually connected to the internet. So it's all depend. Now this is a broad perspective what is there in the CV reference, right? So there is something called as the base score, and this base score is actually given at the CV portal itself. And this particular base score is actually defined by the person who actually identify that particular vulnerability. And this base score generally contains broad categories of the access vector, access complexity, what is the authentication, confidentiality impact, what can be the integrity impact, what can be the availability impact, and accordingly this base score is calculated on the basis of that. And
Sushant, in our organization, we also use something called EPSS. So we use a combination of CVSS and EPSS. EPSS is exploit predictability scoring system. So with a combination, sometimes, for example, one of the CV is showing critical or very high as per CVSS, but EPSS score is low. So we kind of accept that. Okay, it does not require because the EPSS is not very high.
so that EPSS actually in the broad term, I'll say it's a CVSS only. So in the EPSS, you might be taking the reference of the environmental score, right?
Correct, yes.
At what environment that particular application is deployed, that will actually define us, okay, maybe the CV score may be high, but that particular application is not critical in the organization. You may delay the patching accordingly. So the score because if you suppose today you identify any vulnerability in the system, it's not possible for the organization. Maybe you have 1,000 servers in the organization. You cannot just go and patch 1,000 servers at one go, right? You need to definitely prioritize. So then out of those 1,000 servers, you will see, okay, how many of them are the critical, and all those critical you will assign at a high score. Or maybe out of those particular servers, there may be some high critical server which actually contains some sensitive information. You may assign them very high score, maybe between 9 to 10. And according to that, the schedule also depends. Like those critical servers you will patch in the 30 days, maybe high, all those systems which have a high score, they may get patched in the 2 months. This frequency may vary organization to organization, but the broad category which I have given here, this is the broad category which all organizations follow. So for the low, if score is between 0.1 to 3.9, you assign it as a low. If it's between 4 to 6.9, you assign it as a medium, and for the high, 7 to 8.9, and generally 9 to 10 is considered as a critical in the organization. And as per this particular score, then you define the frequency at what particular interval you would like to patch these particular vulnerabilities. That's in the broad term what is there in the CVSS and CV. And here in this matrix, you see the environmental score actually affects everything in the organization, because that is very important, like I explained, through prod and non-prod environment. So that particular score will actually give us the correct picture that what is actually the vulnerability stands, and then accordingly you can define the scores. So let me again go to questions. Yeah.
First one is D and second one is A.
First one is B.
Okay. Actually, for the both, it's CVSS only. Let me explain you. First one is correct. It's straightforward. It's a CVSS. Second one, let me explain you, which contains the data needed to estimate the severity of vulnerability identified, automated vulnerability assessment, right? So CV is just a nomenclature, right? It only gives you what is actually the nomenclature of that particular vulnerability, and it will only contain a temporal score. But if I want to see the vulnerability information for my organization, one particular vulnerability, definitely I'll go to CVSS, right? Because it will contain the environmental score as well.
जल्दबाजी कर दिया मैंने. Yeah.
Say, right,
Thank you.
which
Yeah,
contains
yeah,
the data needed to estimate the severity of vulnerability. So CVSS is the system that contains the data which actually help you estimate the severity of the vulnerability.
Very tricky, and I think we need to work on many what you say questions like this to understand better. Thank
Correct,
you.
correct.
Thank you, Sushant. Yeah.
Let's go to yes.
Yeah. Sushant, just one question I have. Shibit.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So even if the CVSS score is, let's say, medium or high or critical, but there are multiple factors when we go to that CVSS website or NVD website, right, where it says like privilege access is needed or not, whether patch is available or exploit is available. In that way, the score uh, can be it can go down or it can increase, right?
Correct.
Or
That's why. That's why. So, as I showed you there were multiple parameters which actually define your CV score, which may affect.
yeah, yeah,
That's why
because sometimes it
even
is high, but
yes,
patch is available. So after if patch is available, then probably we can put saying that it is under control or probably in a medium to the stakeholders, right?
yes, that's why even after the patch is available, then again in your once that particular actually vulnerabilities comes to your organization, even score may further go down. Suppose you are using that particular application in non-prod environment, you may assign it as a low category,
Yes,
and
yes.
suppose you are using it in the prod environment, you may assign it a medium category because the patch is available. So that's why I'm saying there are multiple factors which actually contribute to calculating the end score.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes. So what is this SCAP? Has anyone heard of this term?
Not really. I have not.
This is basically the automated management of the vulnerability management in the organization, right? So this security content automation protocol, what it does, it's actually use the method as well as the specific standard to enable automated vulnerability management. As soon as you identify the vulnerabilities, you patch it accordingly. So this particular protocol actually enables organization to actually adopt to different vulnerability management frameworks, which actually helps them automatically patch those vulnerabilities rather than manually actually keeping track of all those vulnerabilities. Because for a large organization which has some more than thousands of the server, actually manually keeping track of n number of vulnerabilities and then patching them would be very difficult. So that's why this particular method helps them automate this particular process. So
Yeah, now I remember, Sushant. Yes, there's a name called Chocolatey which we use in a server. Yeah,
correct,
got it. Thank you.
correct. Now this is very important topic, log management. So in the actually security perspective, if I talk, so the next domains what you will be going, that is going to be the incident management, right? So once security incident takes place in the organization, the logs are the very crucial thing, which actually helps you uh, identify where is the problem and then catch hold of that particular attacker. And in the log management, every system in the organization, they generate some kind of a log, right? But you cannot actually store all those logs. That's not possible for you, because then you will be having some TB of the storage and your all the server space will be full, right? So you need to prioritize which all particular log you would like to store, which all particular log you don't want to store. Because in the organization, we all use laptops, and even our own laptop itself, what have been issued by the organization, they also generate some millions of logs every day. You are clicking over and they are downloading the applications, doing different things. So you don't want to store everything. So that's why the log management process actually helps you actually design that particular process, which all log should be stored, which all log will be transmitted, how the logs will be analyzed, and how the logs will be disposed. So this is very important thing. And definitely, as I talked, to introduce any process, you have a log management policy in the organization, which actually govern this particular entire process in the organization. And these are the common security related logs which are generated in the organization, which are very important in nature. First one is the system events. These are the application activities and the system errors. So like suppose you are having one application, there is some error which is encountered by the application. So these are designated in the category of the system events. There are audit records, right? You have some privileged accounts or maybe some critical server, right? So you would like to keep those particular records for the audit. Who is logging in that particular server, at what time, till what time that particular person was logged in. These are the audit record, because they may come in handy to analyze if any kind of security incident took place. Then the network traffic, this is just the normal network traffic, like the traffic is passing to the firewall, to your different switches. So analyze those particular network traffic. You have a network traffic logs. Then the account information. You all have accounts, and suppose you do some fail locking, you enter some 3 times wrong user and ID, your account is logged, right? So those kind of logs are generally captured in the account information. And the operational access, whenever the application is starting, whenever system is shutting down, if there are any kind of configuration changes taking place in the application, those particular logs are in the category of the operational actions. Now the protection of the logs, because if there is a person who actually entered in your system and he did some kind of a malicious activity, and if he is able to alter the log, you will never be able to find out that the person was present, right? That's why the protection of these particular logs is very important. And in all the organization, generally all these critical data or the critical server record, they have a process of protecting them. They are keeping them in the secure server where those logs cannot be altered. Because if you alter the logs, then you have no trail to actually keep track of what the person was doing in your system. So that's why log protection is a very important thing, and the purpose of this particular activity is to establish a non-repudiation and accountability. Because if your logs are protected, you know your logs are protected, so so the person is accountable, the one who actually logs in the system, whatever activity he has performed from his account, he cannot deny the fact, because I know that logs are not altered, right? And it even gives you the confidentiality and the integrity, ensures the integrity of the log data. And if there are any vulnerabilities, so the secure logs, even if they are not properly stored properly, they may get compromised and introduce vulnerabilities in the system. And there are multiple protection methods which organization may use, like using the encryption, or having the access control that only a certain number of people will have access to the log server and all. Those may vary organization to organization. So those can be used by the organization to protect these particular logs. These are very important topics. So once you have a log in the system, right? So how you actually store those logs back to your servers, right? First one is the backup. Whenever you have a log, you keep a backup of that particular logs in some other server, because if maybe primary server fails, you have some standby server from where you can retrieve the logs. Second thing is circular override. You may set up a kind of a rule in your organization that after every 1 year, whatever old data is there, it will be rewritten and the new logs will be in place. So you have only 1 year of the fresh log data which is available. After that, you are ready to accept the risk. You're not storing. Third option is the clipping. Like in the organization, you can define a rule. Suppose if person have a 3 failed login attempt, you will not store the log. After the 4th failed login attempts, you will start storing the logs. This is one condition. any other condition also you can have. There can be multiple conditions, so that it helps you actually save the space of those particular logs rather than storing all the events. So organization can define these roles accordingly in those organization. So, and accordingly, either they can do a circular override, they can clip, and the aggregation is actually aggregating the logs to one particular place. You people might have heard about the SIM solution, right? Splunk. So there are some central log collection tools which actually aggregate the data from some multiple log sources, and then once after the aggregation, you can perform the analytics and generate the result as well as create a dashboard out of it. So these are the four strategies which generally organization follows to actually manage their logs. So and in the actually the log management, these are the key practices which generally people follow. First one is the prioritization of the log. Which particular logs need to be prioritized? As I already discussed, there should be a clear policies and procedures in the place, right? If you're doing the log clipping, if you're doing the circular override, there should be clear cut policy that what is going to be the circular override for these particular servers, what is going to be the clipping policy for these type of logs. And you should definitely have a infrastructure in place to support those logs. You don't want that your server space ran out and you are not able to actually store a critical event logs. So that's why you should have a proper infrastructure to support your log management policy, and definitely support if there is any issue with the log management or there are any errors. So you should have definitely a support available to actually remediate those kind of issues. So again, practice questions from this area. Yes. Any guess for the first question?
I go with C.
I'll go with A.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go with B.
Everyone is have a different actually answers. Okay.
Based on experience, also, I'm just trying to say maybe that is wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, sure. We'll discuss. We'll go with the elimination strategy for this one because it's a tricky
Sure.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then how about the second question?
Firewall logs.
Application logs.
It would have been good that it had a security logs. I would have gone for that. But it's not here. So I'll go with firewall logs.
Okay, good. So okay, let's discuss the first one, right? So question is talking about which of the following is the primary issue when collecting the detailed log information, right? So you can think from the perspective of your organization. So once you're collecting a detailed log, right? So first option, right? Logs may be unavailable when required. So this issue you can actually resolve using the availability, right? You can have a server, you can have a proper log management policy, and then accordingly you can ensure that the logs are available when it is required, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So we may eliminate this. Now go with the second option. Timely review of the data is potentially difficult. This is actually can be a potentially correct answer. Why? Because because you generate so many number of logs. There are million number of logs which are being generated in the organization, and timely going over there and reviewing each and every log is very difficult for the organization. You think even if you deploy some 100 resources also you hire in your organization to actually review those logs, that is actually not possible. You cannot timely review all the logs which are being generated, right? It will take a lot of time, even with the advanced tools availability and all. So this can be the correct answer. Now we'll go with the C. Most systems and the application do not support logging. That's not a correct answer, right? Because I think all this application and all the web application which these days are available, every application generates some kind of a log. There can maybe a issue of doing some kind of a configuration changes and all, but definitely they support the logging. So this is also a wrong one. And logs do not provide sufficient detail of systems and the individual activities. Definitely doc provide the sufficient details, because log information contains everything, and every application they provide you option to actually customize these logs, what information you would like to see in the logs which are being generated. So here the correct answer is B, because you generate million number of logs and timely review of each and every data is very difficult in nature.
Just to say why I went with the C, we have adopted a solution, but there are a couple of applications which actually would provide logs, but it is not supported. Because the parsing, what happens, right? The correlation of the parsing, what happens, it will create in a different type of dot. What I can say, parse some emtx something. It will not be supportive. So that's the only reason I went for C.
But
Yeah,
actually that
yeah,
is actually the configuration related issue, right? Definitely
yeah, yeah.
it is generating the log, maybe
It is
in
generating the
some,
logs.
yeah,
Yeah,
maybe in some different language
yeah,
altogether.
yeah.
So
Correct, correct.
that is a technical issues.
I
So
just went for not supporting the login. So that is
correct.
where I went. Okay, thank you so much.
And this one is actually the firewall logs. Why? Because it's talking about the cybersecurity team is implementing a log management system.
Yes,
Which of the following is log source would be most useful for detecting unauthorized access attempt, right?
right.
It's talking about the unauthorized access attempt. Definitely DNS log will not give you unauthorized access attempts details. Application logs will be specific to one particular applications. But before reaching out to the application, definitely person will go through the firewall, right? And if person is trying to bypass the firewall and doing unauthorized access attempt, definitely you will get from, and not DSCP logs, because it's just related to assigning the IP addresses and the networking protocols to the system. So the correct answer is C. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Now we are reaching to the next part, that is called the synthetic performance monitoring. So synthetic. It looks like it's actually the artificial kind of a performance monitoring. So it's actually the artificial. You generate a artificial transactions against a website, and then you check the performance of that particular organization. So there are multiple tools available. Like suppose you have your company website, you go to that particular tool. That particular tool will generate some artificial data, and then that particular artificial data will be sent to your application web server, and that particular artificial data will give you result. Okay, what was the runtime? How much time it took application to start? How much time it took particular application, one particular function to respond? So in the synthetic performance monitoring, you are generating the artificial data which has no relevance is the with the prod or the actual data. So that's what you do in the synthetic performance monitoring. As even the definition also says here, it's active monitoring that performance artificial transaction against the website. And it's actually systematically test behavior and the performance of the critical services, and then accordingly gives you the result. That's what the synthetic performance monitoring do.
But why we do it? Why do we do
You
it?
Yeah, you do it to actually check the performance of your application. Let me take example. You are
Yeah, yeah.
using internet banking. Suppose you are a product manager for maybe ICICI Bank internet banking application, right? So
Mhm.
you do a synthetic performance monitoring of the application initially before giving. I'm not saying that currently the already application is in run. Suppose you today you introduce one new module over there in the application. You will
Okay.
do synthetic performance monitoring using some kind of an automated tool which will artificially insert some kind of a data in that particular application and then gives you the result. It gives you actually the data which helps you actually optimize the application before setting it into
Optimizing the
production.
source. Okay, okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah,
So that
once
is
the application is already in production, then it's a
Mhm.
real user monitoring, right? Because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
already people are accessing the application, and if any issues are encountered, then again it's going to be set back for you.
Right, right. Yeah, thank you. Got it.
Now, then the next term comes
Shushan,
as a
Sampath here.
So synthetic monitoring is mostly of you will build the use case for that particular application when it is in before going for the performance, is it?
correct. It's artificial data which you are inserting. It's not real user data which you are inserting. It's artificial data which is generated by maybe a automated application which you have created. If anyone is here is from the automated testing, and also those people generate some automated test cases, and those automated test cases are inserted in the application, and then you check the performance.
Yeah, Shushan, this is Sampath. So what we do is in synthetic monitoring is like, as you said, when we release the module, we do the synthetic performance monitoring, but also along with our real user monitoring RUM, this synthetic monitoring is a continuous monitoring activity. So this will give us the behavior of the systems before even the real users or the users complain about the product.
Actually, I was not aware about it. Maybe you are from that particular domain, so
Yeah.
maybe if it's integrated, maybe it might be integrated with the RUM actually. So that first
No,
you
the
check
RUM
the
is the
synthetic.
RUM is the real user monitoring where we access the real-time production logs. So we mimic that particular user and we create that user journey from different geolocations. Let us say my product is catering to multiple geolocations within the country. I take the top tier cities from that particular point. We will be hitting our data center. Now we will be understanding what is my the behavior from so and so location. Is the performance is good? Is my round trip time, that is the latency, the throughput? So based on that, we do the analysis, and in case if there is any issues from a particular geolocation, we try to go deep dive. We do a root cause analysis why this particular geolocation is having the problem.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that information. Actually,
So Sampath, it is automated in your system or
Yes.
synthetic performance monitoring before the RUM then.
Yes. So first level is like we do the synthetic monitoring and it is automated, and we call that as a polars. So these particular polars will be polling my data centers at the different intervals. So in our cases, like we have given like 5 minutes, 2 minutes. If it is a P1 application, every 2 minutes it pings my server and it gives me the latency report. If it is a P2 or a P3 application, we give every 5 minutes. So every 5 minutes it will generate the data and then it give me the real time metrics. Now before any user, like say for example, if it is an individual user who is facing a challenge, he or she might not report it, but since we wanted the customer experience or the user experience to be seamless, what we do is like we take this particular performance analysis report and then we start working on those what is that, the latency issues.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To answer in short, yes, this is an continuous and this is like automated.
Okay, got it.
yes,
Thank
this
you.
this is a definitely automated process using the tool. So, like he already explained about the real user monitoring the real user data or real user performance, how the real users are actually interacting with the application. So you actually go over all the data and all the logs which are being generated by the people who are accessing the information, and then you analyze the information. That is called the RUM. Already he explained it. No, actually, this actually is the main thing. What he already covered here. What are the benefit of doing the synthetic monitoring? It ensures the availability of your application, because once you are in the production, maybe you may encounter any kind of issues. So you may resolve them in beforehand. Second thing is the reachability. It also even verifies if the remote sites are accessible or not. Remote part of the applications are accessible. As he already told that. From a different geolocations, he's trying to create a use case, and so the second use case talks about that. Third thing is the performance of the application. So every application has some kind of a limited number of, like suppose 1 million customers are accessing the application at one particular point of time, then what is going to be the performance of the application, that is covered. And then software as a service monitoring, which tracks the performance of the cloud-based applications, and what are the trends, which helps you establish the baselines as well as analyze the performance of those trends. So these are actually the cloud security, like once you there in the cloud space. So these are things which generally takes place. So examination of the source code to verify the proper security controls in the application. In the FIGAN inspection, you actually do a structured process with definition and as well as check the entry exit criteria for that particular application, and then you verify the standards of those particular codes when you are doing the code security review. So this is a broad area which you cover in the code security reviews. This is an important topic, and you may encounter questions from this area: black box, white box, and gray box. So as the term suggests, in the black box, you are actually not aware about the environment when you are performing the testing. In the white box, you are aware about the environment. You have some kind of a report, logs, structure, or maybe the network structure as well as the security architecture of that particular application. In gray box, it's a mix of both. You have some information which you can actually partially know the data. So that is known as the gray box testing. I hope everyone is aware about black box, white box, gray box, or do I need to explain them in the details?
If it's little brief, you can do that, Sushant.
Okay. So in the black box, actually, there are no internal details are available. So this black box testing, actually, you are mimicking actual outside attacker, how it have. Once attacker actually try to target your application or your software, that time he actually have no information of that particular application. So in the black box testing, you are mimicking that particular outside attacker. In the white box testing, it is generally being done to actually get more detailed result or more detailed information of your application. Why? Because you already know about some data or some information about the application, and once you are trying to attack that particular application, then it's going to be you will be able to generate a better result. So white box testing generally perform to actually generate improve your application or improve your security infrastructure. And gray box testing, it's basically you are mimicking a internal attacker. Like you have one employee, he has some access to some particular information, some data, he knows some data or information, and how he will be actually able to attack. So that is a gray box testing. You have some information of the data. Like suppose you have one L2 analyst and he has some malicious intent. He has some data related to your ports and all. Already he know those, and then he's trying to actually attack your environment and reach up to some sensitive data or sensitive information. That is known as the gray box. I hope I am able to.
Yeah, Sushant.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah. So quick questions related to the same black box and white box, a gray box, what we just learned. Any guess for the first one?
Option A.
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, it's option A. And how about the second one?
That is also A.
Option A.
Yeah.
Option A.
Correct. Both of them are correct. Because in the, as I already explained, that in the black box testing only you know functional specifications are known to the test planner. Remaining other details are not available. In the B, C, D, they are talking about they should have information, source code, design document, and also these are not black box testing. And the second one is actually what is the difference between white box and black box. So white box actually is the testing which actually you should have a knowledge of the internal structure, while the black box testing you should not, because you have only functional, you know about the functional specification. That's why this is the correct answer. Yes. Now, suppose in your organization you are trying to select which type of a strategy you should go ahead with. Either you should use the black box, white box, or gray box. So these actually depends on these are the broad categories which actually define those things. First thing is the attack surface. So you know what is the attack surface of your particular organization. Accordingly, you will choose. Suppose you are prone to more number of attack from outside adversaries, you may try using a black box attack, black box testing to see that how those attackers are able to reach your organization. Then application type also it may differ. There might be few applications where you want to actually check the detailed specification. You want to actually cover the design flaws or maybe backdoor entries. So you will go choose the test type accordingly, and the result quality, because definitely a white box testing will give you better result, because person has a detailed information of that application as compared to black box, because person who is attacking from outside, he need to take a lot of effort to actually reach out to and get those details. And then the technology support, what type of support you have in the organization, that will also define that. And the resource requirement as per the budget, because definitely the black box testing is very expensive in nature. You will be hiring some third party from the outside, and they may charge a huge amount of money to actually do that type of testing. So these are the broad category which help you actually think about that. This we already actually discussed previously, static testing and what is the dynamic testing. In the static testing, actually you do it at the initial stage, at the verification stage, when you are developing the application, when you are writing the code, you are designing the source code. That time you do this task, what we call static analysis. And the dynamic testing is performed when you actually have some kind of a modules already built. That time you dynamically run the application, you check that how those particular blocks are interacting with each other, and what are the results which are being generated from those particular applications. So that is the major difference between the static and the dynamic testing. Now, this is again the manual and the automated, self-explanatory. Manual testing, once you humans manually review the code, manually looking at the things. However, if you have an automated use case or maybe the automated tools which actually do this particular analysis for you, so those are known as the automated testing. Yes. Now, these are the advanced testing methodologies. PT, you already know. You first identify the vulnerabilities. You scan for those vulnerabilities. Once you identify those vulnerabilities, then you try to penetrate them. You try to simulate the attacker. There are different tools available which actually you can use to penetrate those vulnerabilities, and then try to see if you are able to get the intended result. And in the first testing, actually you send some random data or mal-informed data to the input channel, and you try to get to a error page. Let me give you example. Like suppose you have a login page, there is some you insert the login ID and logging your password, right? Once you insert that, suppose you insert some mal-informed data or some kind of a data which may result in the crashing of that particular page, and sometimes you see some error page, right? Once you reach to that particular error page, some website, if you see if it's a very from a good company or maybe from a good product, you will only see error, maybe 404 error encounter, that's it, right? But there may be some application, if they they have not designed the application properly, you may get more detailed information over there, and by reading that particular error code or the error information, attacker may try to gather more information, more data, and then they help them actually design the their use case properly, and then they will try to penetrate your application. So the first testing generally helps you reaching out to that particular error page and getting more information and more data. And there are two type of fuzz testing. One is the dumb fuzzing or the mutation. Second one is the intelligent. So then in this mutation or the dumb fuzzing, you just give some random values or the random data, and not actually having some proper use cases or some proper thing. Like suppose you have a login ID, login password, you enter some random key inputs or random data, and then you will try to analyze the result. But for the intelligent fuzzing, you will actually have proper a model in place which will actually do the input the data as per that particular model. So you have one more intelligent tools or the intelligent use case which is designed, which gives you a better result in terms of the fuzzing. Oh yeah, this is a very important topic, and you may encounter few questions from this. SAST and DAST I already explained. I have not talked about this IAST. This is a very important thing. So there is something called as a hook. So this what this particular IAST testing do. This is actually combination of SAST and DAST. So once you develop your product, right, in your particular application code itself, you insert one hook. You may call it kind of a sensor. What you have in your physical devices, generally you have some sensor, right, and those particular sensors keep sending you data in kind of a log or maybe some other method, and you can analyze that. Same thing you do in the application software. So in the interactive application security testing, you insert that particular hook or sensor in your particular application code, and that particular hook keep sending you that particular log or the information to you, which helps you actually analyzing the application dynamically in runtime environment. So it actually is actually helping you doing both SAST and the DAST. It is even analyzing your source code, that particular hook, plus it's giving you runtime data of the application. So that was the IAST do, which is the combination of both SAST and the DAST. So this is another yeah. So these all are the different types of testing which is performed. So unit testing is actually once you build the application, these days a lot of application they are using a microservices architecture. You generally build the application in small units, and then accordingly through APIs and all you try to interact with those application, and then accordingly you build your full product. So unit testing is actually about testing those different units which you have a small block of that particular application. Integration testing is actually those particular modules, how they are interacting with each other, right? You are analyzing their behavior and the component, how they are interacting with each other, that you do in the integration testing. System testing, you are considering system as a whole. Once the application is built, all units and integration testing is done, then you are checking entire application, running entire application and checking that how it is behaving. Regression testing is actually done after the change has been introduced. Suppose you introduce some kind of a changes in your environment or your application, then you do regression testing to analyze that particular change. Has that particular change has been implemented properly or not, or it has not been implemented, that you do in the regression testing. And interface testing, you can call it the API testing. So all those units, how they are integrating with each other, and what is that particular component which they are using to actually integrate it. So interface testing is as good as the API testing, where you check the components are in sync, as well as the data transfer are happening correctly between them. That's what do in the interface testing. So these are the five broad categories of the different types of software testing, what you do. Let's check the knowledge on the SAST, DAST, or IAST, what you just learned. I'm going bit fast because only we are left with 15 minutes and only few slides are left. Maybe we will be able to finish it off within next 10 minutes.
First one, B.
B, and second one is maybe C.
Yes, this one is correct. B, everyone got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
C. A wala. Okay.
Yes. So it's talking about in the runtime, but however, the SAST actually even SAST identifies the vulnerabilities in runtime also, right? Once application is running, you can actually check those vulnerabilities and get the results. So that's why this is the correct answer.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll quickly go over a few things because one more important topics there. These are not so important topics, so I'll quickly cover them because there's one last topic which is SOC 1, SOC 2 reporting, which is very important from this particular domain, from where you may encounter some questions in the exam. So, what is this test coverage analysis? Suppose you are designing a test case for doing a PT or maybe different testing what we particular covered so far. So you need to check these different things over there, like you would like to ensure that each branch is in the control statements are executed properly. Like when you design the test case, you want that each branch of that particular test case is particularly executed. You will also see the all the conditions which are defined over there, they are properly covered. All the functions which you have defined in the test analysis, all those functions are running properly and they have given the intended result. And the statement, whatever statement you have made over there during the designing these test cases, all these statements are also able to give you the intended result. So these are the different analysis what you do of the test coverage. Now vulnerability assessment process. So we already this is a very important topic as such. Let me go to this. Yeah, this is a very important topic. Let me cover this. You may encounter questions from this topic in the exam. So you need to remember whenever you do a penetration testing, right? So first phase is the planning phase, right? Once you do the planning, you plan that what kind of test case you will be using, how you will be performing the test, how you will be doing the PT. Then once you do the planning, then you start the penetration testing. During the penetration testing, these are the two process blocks which go hand in hand. You discover those vulnerabilities. Once you discover those vulnerability, you will try to penetrate them. You will do the attack, and then you keep discovering. If suppose you do some kind of additional discoveries, you accordingly execute, and the reporting is a parallel process in all of these three. So one question which I gave you initially, first question which we encountered, right, it was related to the reporting only. The reporting is actually a parallel process which happen in all these three different process. So in the planning, as I already told, that you do management sign off, you obtain, and the rules of engagements are developed during this process. During the discovery, you actually do information gathering, you do the scanning, vulnerability analysis, you identify all those vulnerabilities. Once those are identified, then you do attack, you try to penetrate them, you try to exploit those vulnerabilities, and once you get the result in these all the process, you keep doing the reporting to senior management, and whatever the communication plan you have in place, accordingly you follow that and you do the reporting. But please keep in mind this is a very important topic, so please remember all these steps what we have. Yes. So there are two types of security testing. One is the positive testing, and second one is the negative testing. Anyone here would like to explain what is it is? What is the positive testing? What is the misuse case testing?
So when you get the result of testing as expected,
Correct. So positive testing actually it's you design one use case and you are able to get the result as per that particular use case. But the negative testing is actually you are testing the system in a different perspective. Suppose your login name or maybe the login name should only contain the characters, right? So you will try to enter some special characters or with the number in that. That's how your application is designed. But you will try to give some wrong input in that particular box. Or maybe if it is able to take only 10 string of the 10, it should be able to accept. You will maybe try to force it to accept the 20 character string. So that's how you negatively test the application. So what you do, you actually try to uh, test the result what it is not supposed to do. So you will test it in a different manner and then you will try to see the error how your application behave. Generally this is associated with the availability of the application, because you don't want the application to crash. If suppose some negative inputs are given to your application, you don't want that application crashing and people are not able to actually access you that particular application. That's what you don't want. That's why you do negative testing and positive testing. Yes, this is very important process. So in all the organization, once you achieve a kind of a level of confidence that all the controls are in place, you have a log management system, you have a system for doing the penetration testing, assessment and all, then what you do, then you set up a continuous monitoring process. What it does, you want to continuously monitor all these processes which are running in the organization, and then you accordingly whatever the result you get, you try to mature from there. Because if you're not monitoring all the processes which you have in the organization in a continuous manner, you may not be able to actually analyze any kind of a failure or any kind of issues which are being encountered with those particular applications. That's why all the organization actually they adopt to this particular kind of a continuous monitoring. Even this third team or maybe the SOC team what you have, they also do the continuous monitoring only. You have a network engineering team, they already continuously monitor the network traffic. So there are different teams, they are monitoring, doing the continuous monitoring in different areas. So this is a very important thing which you should remember. Yes, KPIs and KRIs. So and even here can give me the difference, what is the KPIs and what is the KRIs? Anyone would like to try?
Just a try. KPIs are those which actually we have already agreed an SLA or maybe a thing which we need to achieve in every month. And during the achievement, we may encounter a couple of risks which need to be tracked and continuously monitored to make sure that we come up with a plan to reduce the risk. That is KRI.
Correct. So actually KPIs helps you monitor the performance of one particular process. So all of your organization might be having a process of sending out the phishing emails to company-wide users, right? And people should not actually click on those phishing emails. You have a security awareness training, right? So KPI would be, let me take example, this as example, KPI would be how many people actually attended that particular phishing awareness training. That will give you that, okay, you have some 1,000 employees out of which 800 people attended the training. So this is a KPI. And what is a KRI? You send this particular phishing email to 1,000 people. How many people actually clicked on that particular phishing email? It's a risk to organization, right? If they're clicking on those particular phishing email, it means that those people are not trained properly, or there might be a gaps in the training what you are providing to all these people. So this is one example which can explain you that what is the difference between KPIs and KRIs. So KRI actually identifies what can be the risk out of that particular process what you have. However, KPIs give you the performance that these many number people should be need to be done. Like suppose you have 1,000 servers to patch. How many of you are able to patch in maybe a 1 month period? But KRI would be how many are the unpatched server out of that, because those unpatched server will bring some risk to organization. So that is the KRI. I hope I'm able to explain.
Yep. Thank you.
Yes. So even during the all the organization, you generate a lot of the test data, right? You have a non-prod environment, and this test data also you want to ensure that there is no PII information being fed, because once you are generating a testing use case, you don't want those testing use case to contain a PII information of the people. You will never use a production data or maybe the real user data to actually test those particular systems. That's why you should avoid PII data. You should also see access controls. You should verify that the controls and procedures are already placed in the test data as well, so that people are not giving a unintended input over there. And there should be a data eraser. If suppose you are using some real-time data over there, so a data eraser should take place so that that particular data is erased. And definitely you should have a logging of the test data as well, because if you are doing a penetration testing or running application testing or doing the SAST, DAST, any kind of testing, you should be properly logging that particular information. Yes, so this is a very important topic. So anyone would like to try? What is the difference between the training and what is the awareness? Okay, let me explain. There's one more term, that is education. So first comes education, then comes the training, then comes the awareness. So education is for the long term, right? You all people went to the college, we all went to the schooling system and all. That was the education, because it stays for you for entire life. Whatever you learn there in the engineering, it will remain with you for entire life. But the training have a short term objective which will train you on some specific skill, like you are attending for the CISSP training, right? This particular training is giving you actually it's actually giving you platform to learn the CISSP certification data, or you may go and write. And awareness have is actually focus on the individual attention, like you have a security awareness training, you have a fire drill in the organization to make people aware that what are the exit route and what actions they should take once there is a kind of fire emergency in the organization. So these are the broad difference between the education, training, and the awareness. Yes. So this is almost last topic only. Let me go to, because we have only few minutes left. Let me go to this particular topic. This is very important topic here. And even here have worked with the SOC 1, SOC 2 reporting. They have some information or some high level understanding what it is. Anyone would like to try? Have any experience, however, heard, encountered the SOC 1, SOC 2? There's one SOC 3 also.
The one thing what I heard was SOCON is basically on the reporting and things about the financial aspects, not related with the IT related. SOC 2 is basically the gap analysis done and regarding the IT related components and reporting.
Correct.
Maybe I'm not sure, not completely aware. Yeah.
Yes. So SOC 1, there is a term known as internal control over financial reporting, right? You have, even if it's a technology organization or the product organization, definitely whatever financial reporting you are doing, it should be correct, right? You have a SEBI and all, a lot of organization, they keep checking that are the financial results which you are generating, are they correct or not? So whatever controls you have in place to check that particular thing, that is known as the SOC 1 report. So even all these and the SOC 2 report, it's related to the IT control. Whatever information technology controls you have, that will be containing in the SOC 2 report. And both of these reports have a type 1 and type 2. So type 1, SOC 1 type 1 and SOC 1 type 2, SOC 2 type 1, and SOC 2 type 2. But type 1 and type 2, what type 1 talks about, it talks about the design of those controls. Suppose you have some 10 controls in the organization related to the financial reporting, right? So how those controls are designed, that will be part of the type 1. But type 2 will tell you the effectiveness of those controls. So type 2, you may tell actually in a kind of a point in time. So you did the effectiveness check today, and you identify out of those 10 controls, 8 are working well, 2 are not working as properly, there are some improvements required. So that is contained in the type 2. So it's similar to both of them. So suppose in any question you see any data which is related to any term which is talking about the finance, it's the SOC 1. And if it is related to IT, information technology, information security, it's SOC 2 report. And there is one more report, SOC 3 report, which is a very high level in nature. It's related to SOC 2 reports only. Because SOC 1 and SOC 2 reports are generally confidential in nature, organization don't want them to be in the public. So they publish SOC 3 report in the public domain, which is very high level document, which will in a high level talk about what is the security posture of the organization. So that's what the SOC 3 report does. Maybe last questions and then we are done. We just discuss these.
If it is external stakeholders who don't have access to entity, then it is C, which I will go with.
Correct. Yes. Then how about the second question?
What is the difference between the type 1 and type 2 segment? The type 1 is developed over time to D.
Correct.
Type 1 is concerned with the control design and type 2 is concerned with the effectiveness.
Correct. Both are correct. So SOC 3 report is actually primarily used by the external stakeholders, because you don't want them to have SOC 1, SOC 2, because this contains the confidential data. And as we already discussed, type 1 is actually talk only about the control design. However, type 2 is related to the effectiveness of those controls. So you audit those controls and then you see that how effectively those controls are working. This audit principle are not that important because we are already over. Maybe we'll use some 4 or 5 minutes to discuss, maybe share my experience, or you have any doubts or question related to CISSP certification altogether. Maybe we can use this time for that rather than, yeah. Anyone here have any in general question related to CISSP certification, how to prepare for the certification, what resources to use?
Yeah, Srishant. So the thing is, like, this is very, very theoretical. I don't know. Today you are just explaining in a very good manner, and it is so easy to understand. But I know that after 2 days I'll forget this. To remember, what would be your suggestion? Because a lot of what I can say, strategies, management, protocols. I don't know how can we remember this.
Yes. So that's why I'll suggest prepare your notes. So what I suggest, all of you, whenever you are reading the book, maybe if you are reading the book, or maybe you are making access to some kind of a video lecture, you are using those. So please make notes, because all the topics which will be covered there, you yourself know, right? What is the important, what is not. Even in the college or maybe the school, once you used to read any books, you know that what is the important, what is not. So at least make note of those pointers. Like, you need not to actually remember entirely what is the SAST, DAST, and IASP. Just make one line which will actually make you understand what is the SAST, what is the DAST in high level. Because once you are writing the exam before day, you cannot read maybe a 50-page book or the 50-page notes. You will only be able to read those maybe 5 or 10 pages notes which you have prepared, so that you can easily go over those notes and it will refresh your memory and solve lot of questions. So once you are done with all the domains, all the 8 domains, once you have finished reading, finish everything, then what I will suggest, solve a lot of questions. Because once you read the questions, then you actually try to apply whatever you learn during theoretically reading the book or maybe watching videos. Then you apply those concepts, then it will actually, you will be able to know that what is the correct answer, what is the wrong answer.
Sure, thank you. And one last question from my end. So I was just I have Sean Harris books, but what do you recommend? Which books you recommend? It's ISC Square only, or any other books which we need to go through?
So actually, the Sean Harris book, what I'll say, Sean Harris book is actually a very, I'll say, it will take a lot of time for you to read that particular book. And the ISC Square official guide, what we have, that particular ISC Square official guide is very crisp in nature. It only talks about what is there in the exam. So maybe what I'll suggest, you give one high level reading of the Sean Harris book, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
as most of you are already here in the cybersecurity domain, so maybe you might be familiar with a lot of topics already. So what I'll suggest, give a high level reading of the Sean Harris book, because it's more than close to some 1,000 pages, which I remember.
Yes, correct. You're
Yeah.
right.
And then go to ISC Square official guide. It's only talk about those concepts which are actually relevant in terms of the exam. And what I'll suggest, prefer this Parab Nair's Coffee Shots. It's very useful. So he has made very good videos of each and every domain, and even for the topics also. So any topic where you find that you are not able to understand it well, you may go to his Coffee Shots, and you'll be able to understand the topic. It's very helpful.
Prabhu Nair, right? Prabhu Nair.
Parab Nair, yeah, Parab Nair.
Prabhu Nair. Oh, I have, yeah, I follow him. Yeah, right.
Yes. And apart from that, what suggestions I'll give to everyone? First thing is that if you're planning to write a exam, right, set a date and book your exam. Then start preparing, because if you will not set a date, you will just keep preparing. There'll not be come a day where you will feel that I am fully prepared. Every day you will feel that I'm lacking somewhere, because if you set some particular date right in the calendar, okay, I'm not saying that you do it immediately, maybe after 3 months, 4 months, as per time what you are getting from your company, you can set a date and then start preparing, so that you know that okay, this is the end date. And once you spend the money from your pocket, you generally have fear also, you will take out some time and study. Otherwise you will never be able to write the exam. You will just keep thinking of it, and whenever the date arrives, you will say, okay, I'm busy somewhere else, there's audit coming in my organization, I'm not able to find the time, and then you will keep delaying the certificate.
That's the correct reason what I gave last time also.
Yes.
Right.
So set a date and then start preparing for the exam. And I'll say, don't follow multiple sources, you will get confused. Only use few authenticated sources. Don't go to some Telegram channels and some Reddit channels. There are multiple channels. They keep posting some questions and all, and some wrong answers are also, so you will get confused. Follow only the trusted sources and trusted channels only to learn about the process as well as solve the questions. You may use the Boson maybe channel, or maybe LearnZ app. There are multiple app, or maybe Luke Ahmed is also offering some question bank and all. You may use their resources and to actually prepare for the exam. That would be a good source of the information. And one book which I'll recommend before writing the exam, at least 15 days or before, please read the book of the Luke Ahmed, the Think Like a Manager. It will help you actually to figuring out the correct answer. It's not available in the soft copy. You may need to order it online. So you can go to Amazon and order it. But if you are thinking of writing the exam, please read that book. It's very good. It has some 25 to 30 questions, and the book explains exactly that how to think like a manager, how to eliminate the wrong options, and what is the correct solution for this particular question.
Thanks, Sushant. Thanks for the detailed information. To all, to let you know all, we have already done a session on how to prepare for CISSP. Before even starting these webinars of CISSP deep dive, we have done one webinar on this particular topic alone, a single topic where people have taken the session, and you may have to register for it and take on demand this thing request for that video. It has been I think it's been 2-3 months back. I think I'm not very sure. It is there actually available with us also. What materials you have to opt for and how to start, how to prepare, what schedule you need to follow. All that is available already, so you can go to that video and opt for it. One more thing I wanted to add to Sushant's thing is how you can learn is do an incremental learning. Like say incremental learning is today you read some topic and tomorrow you think that it is completed. I don't have to go and refer, and you go for a new topic. So instead of doing that, revise the earlier topic and then go for a new topic, uh, or vice versa. Like say you read the new topic as well as go and refer to the old topic as well, whatever you have read in the previous day or previous week or something. That way you have an incremental learning and you don't forget the thing what you have learned, and you in turn gain the knowledge of the new topic as well. So that way it is always continuous. So that's how it is actually. Incremental learning definitely helps in a long run.
Yes, that's why I add on to Seema's thing, like Lokesh, I told you, right? Prepare the notes. That will help you.
Yep.
Rather
Yeah.
than reading entire thing, if you have the short notes, maybe 2 or 3 pages, you can revise those notes quickly and
Notes.
then move on to the next topic.
Exactly.
Yes.
Also, I wanted to share with you all one last thing. Just a minute. I'll just show you all where you can find the CISSP, the previous notes, previous sessions. So if you go to the CSABangalore you will find all these. Sorry, one minute. Yeah, here. So these are the upcoming webinars. We have these are the webinars. We have security operations upcoming, and domain 8 also is upcoming. So the ones which are completed are domain 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Today is the 6th domain. We have 7 and 8 already available. You can go and register here. Also, we have monthly meetups happening. We have a meetup with at Netscope this 4th of April. If you want, you can register 5th April. Sorry, you can register here. And also, we have podcast of Satya and other security leaders who are talking. You can go and get information on AI also on that. And we have an annual summit coming up, which is on the AI summit, which is on 4th of September. You can register here. We have pre-release offer as well available, wherein you can get it for lower prices than what we have on regular prices. What you can gain out of these webinars and the in-person meets is you get a lot of networking, you get a lot of knowledge, and you get to meet the leaders, industry leaders. What are the trends happening in the industry? What is it working in other companies? How it is working? What are the things they are following? Those are the informations which you can get while getting along with the people who you meet in the meetups. So and one more thing is we are offering what you call a speaker opportunity here, and as well as networking opportunity. And we are looking for sponsors as well who wants to sponsor and wants to have a what you call exhibition or kind of an display of their product or something. You can always reach out to us. You can drop an email on CISSPBangalore.com, or you can send out an message to us on LinkedIn as well. We can help you out on that. And also you can follow our page, do like, subscribe, and follow more and share with others, so that others also gain and can gain insight about our program and what we are doing and benefit out of that. On that note, I would like to close the session. Thanks to Sushant, and thanks everyone for joining for this session on the webinar on Domain 6. Do let us know if you find anything interesting on this particular topic you want to share with us. You can certainly reach out to us. On that note, I'll close this session for today. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you everyone
Thank you for the wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Yeah.
Thank you all.